Okay. Right. Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of Les Oderants. I'm Dan and I'm struggling to remain straight-faced.
Because we're so hilarious, aren't we, in the studio?
It was so much fun. And I am joined, as always, by James, Ben and Fliss. Say hello, everyone.
Hello.
It doesn't make any sense if people have to hear you giggling like an idiot.
I know. They just say that there was bants and filth, and now it's this.
And now
Let's just say that.
Exactly.
Now behave.
Yeah, we're never filthy-minded or
never,
anything like that.
never.
Okay, so why don't we try and pretend we are professional? Well, I say professionals. No one's paying us, so who gives a shit, right? But we are at least attempting to put out a professional product here. So,
just to correct that, our patrons are paying us now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I stand corrected.
And we love them and thank them for that.
Said the man in the orthopaedic shoes.
Hey!
Hey.
So let's get started. First off, a number of people, I say a number of people, nobody got in touch. It's, you know when like YouTubers do that. Hey guys, a number of you have been asking me about my beauty routine. Nobody's been asking about your fucking beauty routine. But anyway, a number of you have been asking us about the Zoo perfume review we did last week, which we all really enjoyed doing. And Christophe Laudamiel himself has been hitting up our Instagram and chatting about it. What's he been saying, Fliss?
Well, he's just been liking everything that everyone's been saying, to be honest. He's obviously just reading all the comments and just being like, yeah, dudes like this. Basically, what happened was lovely Brooke at Saint Cellier has released a Les Oderants edit. So if you want to go to her website in order to purchase anything from the Zoo, because she's a supplier in the UK and also elsewhere, I believe, there is also a way of purchasing a group of samples that we like. We mentioned the most we like the best. And so I
Has she actually edited the podcast episode? Because I'll be honest, every time Ben churns out an edit that sounds reasonable, I go, fucking hell, that's amazing. Because we just spent like 6 hours talking absolute bullshit, and then Ben seems to somehow edit it into at least a semi-coherent kind of episode.
Well, yes, there's that. And she has definitely edited her samples into a coherent number that we like, which I think is fantastic. Boom.
Wow.
I know.
Segue that, motherfucker.
I just thought that was just such a lovely thing to do. And just there's no money changing hands. This is not like a paid thing. We're not shilling. If anybody's listening, we're not shilling.
We will do that for a small,
I'm available for shilling.
I think the point is, right, if it's a certain brand that we don't have a relationship with, or it's like a big brand or whatever, then I mean, whether or not we get free shit or not, that's whatever. But when it's somebody like a Brooke or like a small indie perfumer or something, do you really think that we're going to ask for free shit or like expect free shit? Of course we're not, right? And it's like a mutually beneficial like thing, and it's just like on a friendship kind of like basis that we would do it for that person anyway, and we don't expect that shit. So that's the kind of the differentiate. And
I'm really happy to promote Saint Cellier as a website and as a purveyor of perfumes, definitely on my Insta and certainly on this podcast, because Brooke's customer care is excellent.
Absolutely.
And her taste is also exquisite.
Yeah.
She sells beautiful things and she sells them to you beautifully. Well done, her.
Yeah. I mean, and she's part of the whole kind of online, I hate the word, but community, so I sort of feel like absolutely fine doing that. Although I think there is potentially an episode in the in this whole concept of shilling, and it seems to me that people get particularly bent out of shape about shilling in the perfume community. I don't think any other sort of collection, what industry, whatever niche segment I don't think anyone else gets anywhere near as bent out of fucking shape about this nonsense. And I don't know. There seems to just be this. I think it's something to do with the fact that perfume is considered by many to be an art, and therefore gets held to these very sort of puritanical kind of standards. But to a lot of people, obviously, it's a commercial venture and a business, and the reality is it has to be both of those things, and they can coexist. But I do think there's probably a bit of an episode in there. Or maybe we've just covered it right there and then. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, I mean, people that get upset about it, it's like, I don't think you understand how media has ever worked, because that's how it was. That's how it's worked for eternity. And the other thing I always think is, just because you get something for free doesn't immediately make... I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there are a lot of, especially on YouTube, there are a lot of YouTubers who are sort of like, the quote unquote shills. Do you know what I mean? They'll just say something's brilliant because they get it for free or whatever. But I think there are an equal number of, people out there that get stuff for free and say their honest thoughts on it. And I've always held to the idea that most brands don't give a shit what you actually say about their product. They just want you talking about it. So, I can sit there and tell people, oh yeah, I got this for free and it's a piece of shit and I don't like it, but you might. And there's nothing really necessarily wrong with that, is there? I don't think.
No, I think it was interesting when we did the Strange Love that they got back to us, because we had really divergent, quite opposing thoughts about all of that whole range, and they loved it. They loved the fact that we were really honest about it, and I think that there's a. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say there's a charm about it, but it's more than a charm, isn't it? There's an integrity about being honest. If you don't like something, just saying I don't like it. I wouldn't. Yeah. I don't think I ever need to say that I love something if I don't.
No, I just think there is. I think there is a weirdly kind of extreme element of the way people see the perfume world, with this idea that anybody who receives anything for free is automatically tainted and their opinion can't be trusted. And so sure, I mean, maybe if you were giving me like a fucking £100,000 sports car, right, then maybe I would have to think very, very carefully about how I reviewed it, because, probably I want the £100,000 sports car to fucking stay with me. If we're talking about a 50 quid bottle of fucking smelly water, to add to my collection of 200 bottles of fucking smelly water, does it really? Yeah. Anyway,
I think you give people too much credit as well. I think a lot of people are just bitter about other people getting free shit, and they just don't like that. And
there's that. There's definitely that.
That's pretty pervasive.
There's definitely that, and I'm bitter that I don't get enough free shit. That's how I see the world. Right, James, did you interact with Christoph at all on the zoo stuff?
No.
No.
But was it just me? Do you think I might be his favourite?
I mean, that's not even in question, is it? Like,
you're everyone's favourite, apart from mine. I hate you, and James is my favourite. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Well,
do you know what would be really funny is if Christoph Lawnmill actually finally replied to your email about your
your figure cord.
Yeah,
that would be handy, wouldn't it? Do you know what? I'd like that more, but he's probably not going to.
Hey James, I know it's been a few months,
years.
I know it's. Hey James, I know it's been a couple of years, but I finally got round to reviewing your fig formula.
Yeah. I might even release my own and call it Fig My Arse.
Fig my ass. Yeah, I do like.
That's got some terrible, potential.
Yeah, that's going to get
anyway.
very twisted.
You could do a collab with Nasamato. They could do a really lovely cap these days.
About the Nasamato, I read an absolutely brilliant review. I can't even remember. It's by someone who just writes these like random Facebook reviews. Someone sent it to me via Instagram. I can't remember what the chap's called. I'm going to have to look it up. But one of the points he made about it was that what Nasamato had done was almost kind of trivialise and sensationalise BDSM, where actually, for a lot of people who are involved in that scene, it's a necessity. It's a fucking enabler for their lives. You know, it's an important or essential outlet, and trivialising it in that way and kind of almost co-opting it for commercial gain without actually being part of the scene feels incredibly cynical. And I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of truth in that.
And the other thing with it as well is it's always been a problem, and it's always misrepresented as well. And it's, you know, I wouldn't say I've never been part of the scene, if you like, but there was a period of my life where I was quite into it, and there was a big problem, not a big problem, but you felt you could never tell anyone because of the way it's represented in, you know, popular culture and the media and such, when in reality it was never at all like that, for you know, at least not from my experience.
These brands, with their kink appropriation, it's out of order, isn't it? Eh?
Hey, exactly. Appropriating Ben's kinks. Right, okay.
Let's move on quickly.
Yeah, let's move swiftly on. Well, Ben, you're up at the stump anyway, so tell us what perfume you've been wearing.
Oh, Jesus. I mean, this is worth... Actually, I feel less embarrassed about talking about my kinks than what I've been wearing, because I'm going to say this through cringe teeth. Do you know what I'm wearing today? And I've been wearing it almost all week.
Is it Bleu de Chanel?
It's not. It's worse than that, I think.
What?
Yeah. It's old Bobby Mancera.
What? Bobby Mancera?
Yeah, you know.
Ceddy B.
Ceddy B. Cedric Bois. I've been wearing that all
Intense
week.
Or the original?
Just the original.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't... It's
that
good.
is a ghastly perfume.
Do you think? I like it.
Oh, no, it's awful. It's like...
It is horrible, isn't it?
There isn't a Mancera that I've ever smelt that I liked. You know, I said I've never really smelt a tuberose that I dislike. I've never smelt a Mancera that I do like. And I remember saying a while ago, why is Mancera?
What?
I still hold to that. I really do.
It's a profound sort of like chasm of an answer. It's like just an empty space. Why? Why is
I mean, for those that are not aware, I mean, surely everyone is, but it's essentially like a kind of hyper neon Aventus clone, isn't it?
With a lot of vanilla.
Yeah. There's a lot of sweetness, sickly sweetness in the bottom, and the fruit just lasts forever. Like it's quite incredible feat of making a citrus last 24 hours.
So after I've asked this question, right, you can punch me, and if you
you're 4 times the size of me, I'm not
sure. But if you know
just
the answer,
bite his knees. It's fine.
If you know the answer, you can probably punch yourself too. But is it pre-reformulation with the screw top?
It is. It's the screw top. Yes, of course, darling.
That look of utter contempt from James. The noise of contempt.
I mean, Ben, for a start.
Yeah, to make that slightly better, I got it from the chap from the Facebook group that used to get cheap Manceras back in the day. The one.
The Eastern European guy who showed up with a box of fucking Mancera and then fucked off again. Brilliant. Cool.
I mean, Ben, you were talking about your BDSM. Let's talk about that. I mean, if that's not fucking self-flagellation, I don't know what is. Wearing that absolute...
I was going to say, you can tie me up and gag me. I'm still not putting that shit on anywhere near me.
Fucking terrible, man. And it's
presumably...
Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
No, I'm just...
presumably, you like Aventus, right?
I sold my bottle this week, but yeah.
Funnily enough,
So did Dan, actually.
I bought one and sold it.
You sold the same bottle?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell.
But Yeah, hi, I'm Dan. Have you met me?
No, I know that you do that, but it's
So I bought a bottle of Aventus batch 16H11 off Rich Mitch. That was cool. So Rich Mitch now has we have each other's phone numbers, and we've been sending various WhatsApps about perfume, which is quite cool. But also, hello, Rich, if you're listening. But I bought this bottle of Aventus, and then I also bought another Aventus clone, which is the Loewe Essentia, which is very nice. And then I was thinking, hang on a minute, I actually wear Aventus like maybe twice a year, 2 times a year. So I've actually got enough Aventus before I'd bought that bottle off Rich to last me like 15 years.
You're a fucking madman.
what am I doing? So I then immediately sold it. But as it turns out, it was useful that I sold it, because I had to pay 400 quid to get my fucking car shined up, because I managed to drive it into a car wash, which and like physically I drove it into the side of a car wash like a fucking absolute knobber. But there you go. So that was a weird detour about Aventus, but
yeah. So
but
presumably
then,
you like Aventus. So what is it that you don't like about this Mancera? Because to me, they're, like I say, they're quite similar, but the Mancera, it's just a bit whoa. Like it's all bright and electric.
That's the bit I don't like. It's like, and then it just doesn't stop.
I like Aventus. In fact, I love Aventus. It's one of the first kind of perfumes that I remember really going, fucking hell, this is amazing, and it being kind of almost revolutionary for me. But like the Mancera, Cedra Bois,
Boisy, they say, don't they?
Boisy.
I don't know if that's right.
Where
They don't say Boisy.
They
It hasn't got
a thing on it
on the E. So
I don't say it. I don't
They-
utter the fucking thing. But like other people who say it always say
other people,
Cedrat
wankers
Boisy.
say it.
Is it that? I don't know.
Cedrat Boisy is like the dead-eyed fucking cousin of Aventus. It's like it's more or less the same. It kind of looks the same, but its eyes are just completely dead, and there's fucking
superficially
hollow space where
similar, fundamentally very different. That's it.
Oh, come on, Ben.
classless, isn't it? It's
classless is right.
They've tried to create a contrast between like the bright, like toppy kind of stuff of an Aventus, but they've given it none of the good stuff, none of the body, none of the like nice sort of smoky element, and then they've put this fucking insipid vanilla bullshit with that, and it's like, don't do that. Like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like when they try and go, oh yeah, like citrus really goes with like sandalwood, let's do a creamy thing. No, it should never exist. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And I've been wearing that a week and really enjoying it. So what else have I been wearing then to move things along? Rich Mitch, actually, talking about Rich Mitch, I wore Nes Adorum.
Oh my God, it's the best thing ever.
It's fucking brilliant, isn't it?
Oh! I put it on and I was just like, fucking hell, what's this? What is this? Then I had to find him on YouTube because I don't follow him. I do now, obviously. Say, how do I message you? He said, get James to send me your number. Immediately was just like, what the fuck is this? It's just stunning.
Have you tried to get hold of it?
Well, there's a story there as well.
So Nes is a perfume magazine, isn't it? And Nes Adorum is like every issue they do, they release like a kind of limited perfume.
Yeah,
like 15
you get
mil.
15 mil with the mag.
Yeah,
but you have to buy it through the American website, and you then have to pay 50 quid shipping.
Yeah,
because I have tried to get hold of it because I was chatting to Rich Mitch, and he'd already said you can have the rest of mine if you like. And I was like, no, it's okay. I'm going to order my own. I order my own. The next day I wake up and there's like this thing from PayPal. I was like, that's a lot of money for a magazine and a fag, because I'd forgotten about the shipping. So I've cancelled that order and I now have to go back on bended knee and go, Rich, I know that I said I didn't want it, but I do want it because it's phenomenal.
It's really good, isn't it? So I mean, it's basically like a woody incense, isn't it?
But it's got this beautiful caramel top note. So all of the other kind of like gourmand frankincense incenses. There's Mystic Incense by Merchant of Venice. There's Cosmic Incense by the Hoo Ha. It's totally like those, but it's like 100 times better. It's the best gourmand frankincense incense I've ever smelt, and I nearly came. It's that good.
It's good.
Holy fucking shit!
I'm thankful to say it takes a little bit more than that for me, but like,
oh no, I sprayed it once.
Back to the BDSM.
I sprayed it again, and then I spaffed the rest of the whole thing just all over me. It was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Where do I get this from?
Jesus
Overcommitted on my PayPal to get some over from America before realising, oh god, it's just been a big mess.
I was so disappointed when because Rich basically just wrote the name of each perfume on the samples. So I looked up Adorem and I was like, I don't know what
you can't find it. It's not on Fragrantica.
Yeah, and then I found out it was Nez, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake! And I bet it's an old edition as well, so you can't even get it. And I was so disappointed that it's. You
can still get it, but it's tres expensive.
Some of the other Nez's are on Fragrantica, but this one isn't. I personally, I think it's a really brave, bold, like cool perfume and stuff. But taste-wise, I do not like it. I think, like, yeah, I like the to me that sort of like top note and the kind of this sort of relentless. To me, it smells like almost like stagnant water. You know, that kind of like slightly like Legionella or something. Like it's like I'm not fully convinced that that's right. But it does have like it is a great. It's a great perfume. I accept that it is, right? But I'm just like I'm not on board. It's got this like labdanum, like animalic labdanum that I don't like. It's got. Have you ever tried Spell by Papillon Artisan?
No.
Yeah, I think Ben, you would fucking. Honestly, you'd.
Is that Papillon as in like Bengali?
Yeah. She's got one called Spell.
Oh, right, okay.
Fucking 1, 2, 3. I don't know. It's called like Spell something. It's got like a number. It uses like Russian pine and some kind of other all natural materials. It smells fucking horrible, right? I love her work, right? But it's this pine, this really overly animalic labdanum, which has the same quality as ambergris, by the way. Same like chemistry, can't remember what the chemicals are, but this kind of really rubbery labdanum, and just it's like just not right. And this kind of reminded me a little bit of that. But yeah, I accept it's a really creative, like cool perfume, but it might be just a bit too cool for me.
It smells like cooking oil and pepper and caramel, and it's like someone's fucking thrown pepper and caramel into a frying pan, or pepper and sugar into a frying pan with oil and or butter and made caramel kind of thing, but it's got this out of place pepper. I'll be honest, I don't understand why you're so into it, because I don't like it. I'm with James. I just don't like it. If this can make you come, pepper. Fliss.
I said nearly.
Okay.
Might need to be a bigger bottle.
Frankly, I'll take nearly. If this can nearly do that for you, then I think we do have to have some discussion
some
about
serious chats.
The discussion in the difference in our tastes, because I'll be honest, I don't get that at all. I mean, not even one bit.
For me, I love the pepper. It's so on the nose, and it's real kind of rich black pepper. And I was quite shocked when I did find out what it was, and it wasn't even listed in like on the Nez like description of it. They said, oh, it's like Himalayan incense or something. And I was like, right, okay, get it's incensey, but it's clearly like almost 90% black pepper when you first spray it. It's fucking magic.
I haven't looked at the notes list, but yeah, I did look on Fragrantica and it wasn't there, and so I gave up. But I just like, this is not for me. I think I've come to the conclusion, regrettably, that I'm not a huge fan of pepper generally, particularly that Shinkus mole kind of pink peppery sort of accord. I don't like that one bit. This is, I don't know what this is. It's not nice, and I don't understand your reaction at all, Fliss. But there you go.
Shinkus mole
Whatever.
sounds like a fucking Harry Potter character or something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
It should be a Harry Potter character. It is. Yeah. Yes. I don't know enough Harry Potter like to fucking make an appropriate joke there. I read some Harry Potter books when they came out. I think I read the first two, and then the third book came out, and I was reading it. I remember reading it on a train on the way home from London, and there was like this light bulb moment where I just went, oh my God, this is fucking shit. And I'll put it down.
I'm a grown man reading a fucking child's book on a train. What am I doing?
Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with me? This is bullshit. So that was it. That was the end of Harry Potter for me. So Harry Potter notwithstanding, what else? We've covered Nez Adorum. We've covered Bobby Mancera's CDB. Anything else, Ben, that you would like to add?
Nah, everything else I think I spoke about before. Santal Noir I've been particularly enjoying.
Lovely.
Dior, but we spoke about that before.
Cool. Well,
yeah, that was about it.
Oh, I've been going the other way. I've been enjoying sort of fresh, clean stuff. Well, I suppose the other way. Your Mancera, I suppose, counts as fresh, but Creed Himalaya, I've been wearing that a bit recently. That's nice. It's really nice. It's very subtle. It's not an overtly kind of like obnoxious perfume, and I think it does require a few wears to get into it. Really.
Do you think it's better than Paco XS?
I don't know Paco XS. Someone else said it's similar to Paco XS, and is that the one with the snake on the bottle or something?
No, that's the new XS. That's called Pure XS or something. This XS is from the 90s.
Right.
From about 94 or something like that. And it's kind of always been in my wardrobe and stuff. It's it smells, it's Himalaya, basically.
Oh, really?
Or Himalaya is it, more appropriately.
Which came first?
Well,
which came
obviously,
first?
What did Creed have much of a history before fucking, whenever? Let's not even get into
well,
that. But
1744.
Oh, yeah, of course. It was made for fucking Napoleon. Yeah. No, Himalaya. No, I don't know when Himalaya was, but it doesn't predate XS. But
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
but some of their perfumes, and I even concede this, right? They are better than a lot of the things that they are compared to. But look at the things that they're compared to, and and a lot of the time, as we know, they're by the same perfumer or whatever. So it's kind of like, yeah. But I concede that they're better. They might be better.
I got sent a sample, by the way, of the new Jacques Fath Vetiver Gris, which is by is it Hérault? Is it Jean-Claude Hérault?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who did Aventus? Who was obviously now we're allowed to say he did Aventus, but it's I think it's the first new Jacques Fath for some time, and it's very nice. I really like it. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's somehow earthy and rooty, but also clean and quite fizzy, and a little bit of sweetness going on. It's really enjoyable. I think I might have to buy a bottle of that one. To add to my other 200 odd bottles that I don't fucking wear. Genius. Yes, another act of genius. Okay, Fliss, what have you been getting sexually aroused by, perfume-wise?
Perfume-wise.
Yeah.
So I started the week just absolutely bowled over, actually. Our friend Lewis Arkey came back from Exons, and I had primed him to smell the Jack Fath Iris Gris from the L'Osmatique. And he didn't just smell it. He got a little drop on some blotters and sent it to me.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah,
amazing.
Really. Oh, and even now, it still smells amazing. It's peachy and soft and silvery and rooty and slightly spicy. And it's pretty swoony, I have to say.
And if you had that spare £1,000, would you have bought that bottle that was on eBay?
£1,500 on eBay of the original. I reckon it was someone at Exons, and they went to the Osmatique, they smelt this and went, yeah, I'm going to do it.
It's probably Lewis. He does that. He does that kind of thing.
He's an exquisite collector. He really is. But anyway, in addition to that, he also he's basically sent me this like bag of all of the magazines and some other samples. But he spent time not just getting me that from the Osmatique, but all of these blotters of original, discontinued and early perfumes. So I was just in heaven. And the other ones that really stuck out to me were
how were they packaged?
They're in little. It's dipped in, the blotters dipped in, and then it's put in like a little grease-proof envelope that you can fold over and seal. And they don't smell as amazing as they did last week, but they're still really strong. The original formulation Fracas is still so strong that actually you can smell it from, well, a good foot or two away, and it's beautiful. Just very fluffy and delightful, obviously, but I'm a Fracas fan. And then Bandit, lovely Germaine Cellier there.
Just on the subject of Fracas, I rewatched Casino this weekend, which is a great movie, but there's a scene where the sort of one of the good old boys describes an incident as a fracas.
It's a fracas.
A fracas.
What a fracas.
Yeah. It's a fracas, darling. Fracas.
You're talking to us about pronunciation. I don't know if we should.
Our pronunciation is notoriously bad and also wildly inconsistent, which is fine.
It's fine. And
so,
an original Joy as well, which I can't
Patchouli.
wear. Yeah,
Patchouli
I can't
Joy.
wear the nude one. I find it really soapy. But this one from the L'Osmatique is so rosy and so jasmine. It's all the things that people say that they can smell in Joy that I can't smell in the modern formulation. So, whatevs. Sorry, James.
Whatevs.
So big shout out to Lewis, because I think he went over and above that. He didn't need to do that. So I love you, Lewis. I discovered, or I was helped to discover, Taboo by Dana. Which, 15 quid posted for 75ml. I was expecting just to be like, yeah, it's all right. Ooh, you're right. Why are you making those noises, James? Tell us.
Because I fucking love that perfume. I don't actually own it, but I've had enough samples, and people have sent me like vintage samples and stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing. Isn't it? Wasn't it for a what was that term we used for?
Jean Carl, 1932.
It was made for a prosy, wasn't it?
Was it?
Well, no,
it wouldn't surprise me.
Sex worker.
Yeah, sorry. No, you had a really posh name for one, like a few episodes ago. It was like a
courtesan.
Courtesan. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But they could juggle and tell jokes, you see.
Anyway, it's a big hitting, thick, honeyed amber that all the resins in there are really, really chewy. There's a very sweet benzoin note. There has a slightly Coca-Cola and caramelly feel, the myrrh. And it to me, if somebody said, smell this, I would say it smells like something along the lines of this. Yeah, I'd be like, that smells like a vintage Goutal from the Orientalists triplet. It's absolutely up there with that quality. There's a slight hint of nag champa in it, which I don't normally like in a fragrance, but it's really deft and gentle. And I'm amazed that I haven't come across it before. Not amazed in that kind of, oh my gosh, I'm so important. Why haven't I come across it? But just like, why the fuck did no one tell me about this before? Because I would have been wearing it for a long time.
Are you going to get a new bottle of it? Then was it a new bottle that you tried?
No, I don't believe so. It was in the old violin shaped.
Oh, that one. Yeah,
really lovely.
Haven't tried the new one, but I'm tempted to get the new one just to see what it's like. Because it's only cheap.
What's it called again?
Dana Taboo.
Taboo.
By Dana.
Really, yeah. Really
Dana.
great.
Dana. Is Dana from Manchester?
Yeah, as they say.
Dana. Manchester.
Yeah, nice. I'm just looking at this. 68 mil, new and boxed. Dana Taboo, Eau de Cologne, 1995.
Yeah.
How much is it?
1995 on eBay.
Fucking hell! What for a night? Oh, I thought you said it was from 1995.
No,
no, it's a new one. Yeah. That's about right.
Is that the new one?
Yeah.
20 quid.
Yeah. That's probably worth a
I might
punt.
give it a whirl.
Yeah.
Why not? Fuck it. Done.
If you hate it, you're going to shout at me, but I don't care.
Not for fucking 20 quid, I'm not.
No, well.
I'll just send you the bill.
Yeah, or just send me the frag.
Yeah.
I have to eat my words.
Oh,
because
this will be interesting.
Well, I went through the rest of those zoologists that lovely Georgina sent, and admittedly, Dragonfly was just boring and really, it was so synthetic and polite, and it was very aquatic and nice aquatic, and very peony, and it smelt like one of those girl designer flankers. You know when they have like the main perfume and then there's X girl, and it's always a lighter, fluffier thing. It just smelled like that. I had to scrub it because it was so lazy. I was just like, I couldn't believe it was the same house that produced Bat and Bee and all of those, admittedly things I don't like, but also at least interesting offerings. And this was just like Dullsville. So that made me grumpy. And then I tried Nightingale. And I really liked it.
Yeah, I love that.
Really liked it.
Yeah.
Really rosy, soft violet, very powdery, very, very creamy, almost like a spicy Nivea feel, I was really surprised I really liked. And it's an extremely pretty lipstick rose, but it feels modern and not full of aldehydes in that kind of Dior-y, missier kind of way.
Didn't you send us that, Ben?
I don't think I've got Nightingale. No. I think I've got Hummingbird. Which actually, I think bears some similarities in the
it's a bird.
Like the creamy sort of mossiness of it.
Yeah. It's just lovely, and I just asked someone else to send me some more because I want to play with it a bit more. Because I feel as if that the sample I had, I just wore it for one day and it wasn't really enough to really make sure that I actually am definitely eating the words, but I am pretty much, eating them. And then I also wore, I patch tested it against Gris Dior, or Dior, was it Dior Gris or Gris Dior?
Yeah, Gris Dior, yeah.
And I really liked that too, because someone said to me, it's like that rosy chypre, you should try them next to each other. And they're not the same at all, but there is a feeling of them slightly, in some ways, even though I just said that the Nightingale feels so much more modern. But I actually, in that process of doing that, I fell in love a little bit with Gris Dior. It's just beautiful. But there's a lot of patchouli in the dry down, which I really, really liked. Not that I'm foreshadowing the rest of the episode, but yeah. And so I used up the frags of that and the dregs of that, and I'm going to get another 10 mil or so to play with, because I haven't ever worn it before. And I've always been a bit like, that looks a bit dull. But it's not dull. It's lovely.
Groovy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Anything else you want to call attention to before we get stuck into the weekly epic adventure?
The The only other thing I would quickly mention is that I did purchase some Habanita La Cologne, not the EDP, but the cologne, because I got really into Enslaved by Mr. Dove, and you can't get it.
Uncle Rog.
Uncle Rog. Because it's been discontinued, but that made me then go on to a bit of a Habanita tip because it's really, really similar.
That would be very unusual, a Roger Dove that was somehow inspired by something else.
Inspired by an ancient, excellent perfume. I think Habanita's like, is it 1925 or something? 1921.
Yeah, a mere 200 years after Creed was founded.
Yeah. But yeah, and the cologne is lovely, and it's nowhere near as heavy as either the Enslaved or the EDP. Lovely, fluffy lemon cake with a lovely woody, smoky dry down. It's like it's like if Shalimar cologne and Habanita EDP and Roja Enslaved had a baby, and I am down with that baby. It's been good, and I've been wearing that a lot.
Excellent. Well, I don't actually know Enslaved, but you did just remind me that another perfume I've been wearing this week is Isola Blue by Roger Dove, which is the re-release of Oligarch. So Oligarch Parfum was basically yanked off the shelves the minute Russia invaded Ukraine because I think
we had a conversation about this, didn't we?
Yeah, justifiably, Uncle Rog might have been a bit concerned about the branding of Oligarch, even though I think, in a literal sense, probably he needn't have been. But, the connotations were clearly there for a lot of people. So, yeah, it's been re-released as Isola Blue, and it's lovely. And it's basically an inspiration of Terre d'Hermès, but just so much more fabulous. I really like it. I think it's a great perfume.
This is what he does. He just takes something that everyone loves and makes it just that bit better.
Yes. Sometimes.
Yes.
For some stuff, yeah. I don't think there's any hiding from that. He's taken a lot of inspiration from grand kind of Chypres and Guerlain stuff over the years. But in this case, the inspiration is clearly Terre d'Hermès. But I mean, the comparison, it's like if Terre d'Hermès is like a pint and a bag of crisps, then Isola Blue is like a sort of,
Chateauneuf de Pape.
Well, I was going to say 17-course taster menu complete with a curated wine selection. But, same sort of thing. Anyway.
Sorry, how is the title? Isola Blue. Is that 3 words? Like
No, 2 words. Isola, Isola. And,
okay.
And blue. Isola, I assume is like I don't know. I haven't
Blue
checked.
Island or something.
It's something like that, yeah. And the box has got like pictures of it's got like the white houses, the Dalmatian coast kind of thing where you can see all the white houses. It's that kind of vibe to it with a nice yellow sun on it.
Isola Blue is in Sicily. And it's a seafront villa with striking port views.
Right, okay.
Yes, a stunning Syracuse location.
Okay, so when I said Dalmatian coast, that was wrong, but...
It's a really stunning example of how, the names and blurbs behind perfumes don't really
you flipped from an oligarch to a fucking a villa,
a Sicilian coast or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it can be both. Maybe the oligarch's holiday there is their playground.
Yeah. There's also a
famous oligarch
49-foot privilege catamaran called Isola Blue as well. So I mean, it's a place in Syracuse. It's also a type of massive yacht.
I think it's the massive yacht, isn't it?
I am a massive yacht. Right, I feel like we've talked around it enough. Let's begin the Odyssey, James. Take us to 14 heaven.
I wore Armani Privé Mur Imperial. What's funny about that?
It's just
an anticlimax.
Take us to heaven. Yeah, take us to heaven.
Come on.
Come on.
Fliss was nearly there before. Let's fucking make it happen. Let's not. Anyway, it's Armani Privé.
Mur Imperial.
Mur Imperial.
Yeah. Isn't that the one that Giorgio himself was reputed to wear?
You know more than I do.
That's a different one. Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to double check that. It's one of them that Giorgio himself was reputed to wear of the line.
Well, I got it like literally. They were like, "This is brand new." So whenever that was, like a few years ago, and they said, "Oh, because I like that line. I like that Armani line. I think they're good, but they're just good." Do you know what I mean? They're like, there's nothing really. They're expensive for what they are, and some of them don't last very long. Not that I'm a big, longevity queen or whatever. I'm just like
performance bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Is a longevity queen a variation on performance bro?
Yeah, and actually, and Sarah McCartney made this point. We're fucking English people. We shouldn't say longevity. We should say longevity because that is how it's supposed to be pronounced. You fuckers. Me included. So,
Is that right?
I don't know. Sarah McCartney said it.
I don't know whether she's right.
Sarah McCartney said it.
And Sarah McCartney's fucking infallible.
Well,
yeah, I get it.
Well,
she is a god amongst women.
Yeah. So what do you think, Fliss? You're a well-spoken person.
Am I? I don't know if I am.
You are.
I think James just pulled his punches. He was about to say something else.
What was I?
Anyway,
what was I about to say?
I don't know.
I wouldn't like to. I will check it out while you do the rest of your 14. I will check it out on the old Google.
But I think it's one of those things. It doesn't really fucking matter, does it? But anyway,
longevity sounds wrong.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's a really nice. It's not particularly myrrh-like, but it's very good incense.
Imperial.
Yeah, it's a bit more. It's a bit more bright, and it does have some of that heavy. Not even black Afghano, but I'm just going to say like heavy resinous feel. But then it's like brightened up. It's just a much better. It's just a really good incense, basically. Moving on. Naomi Goodsir Eau du Cereal.
All right. I don't think I've tried any Naomi Goodsir.
I've put here there's a candied orange fruits and plastic wrappers in the opening. It's kind of fresh, blah, blah, blah. And then it's sort of warm, honey, caramelized amber accord, which would normally sort of annoy me. That kind of like Mugler-ish sort of like thing. Kind of, but like lacking the floral kind of element. Says it's got rum and ylang in the notes, and I'm kind of like, yeah, all right then, maybe that's contributing to this weird. It's got that kind of like 80s like strawberry shortcake, your sister's rubber collection.
That sounds fucking vile.
It's all right. It's all right. It's not like I'm not in love with it, but this is the review that I wrote. I couldn't even remember what it was like, so I clearly didn't love it. It's that kind of caramelized amber thing, but it's nicer than some of the other ones that I would perhaps.
Nicer than Oderants?
Oh fuck!
No. I mean that's not.
Sorry,
that
just came out.
That was brutal.
I don't really get the sort of caramelized sweetness in that, particularly in the Odorant. But this is like a tacky. It's nothing like Odorant. Okay, so then I wore Dior Fahrenheit, and it was a 1991, I think the bottle is from, and it's fucking brilliant. But it also...
I bet you felt like a god that day.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? I didn't actually wear any perfume until the evening, so I hadn't worn anything during the day, and then I went, oh shit, I'm not wearing anything, better whack some amazing stuff on. So I put that on, and bear in mind that it's my favourite perfume of all time. I've worn it since like I was a fucking child, since like I shouldn't have even been wearing perfume.
You've even got a tattoo of a bottle.
I've even got a fucking tattoo of it. So, you know, I'm pretty committed to the love of it. And I can tell you, it's like when people go, oh, yeah, things aren't the same as like the 60s and you can't remember. And it's like, are you really remembering that properly? I like literally have like studied this fucking perfume like in my mind. I've been fucking explored it, right? So I can tell you for certain that the vintage bottle that I have has got this weird, slightly degraded vintage smell to it. Now, it ultimately, it is Fahrenheit, right? But it's not quite as bright. It's got, and this is a concept that we might talk about at some point, right? I think people who like vintage perfumes are slightly addicted to this slightly degraded smell of materials that they smell vintage, right? The vintage accord, the vintage note.
See, you call it degraded. I call it macerated.
Yeah, but it's not though, is it? There's
No, I'm being a dick.
Well, maceration is like the improvement, I would argue, or the aging of materials that need to be aged that actually get better with age. So that's your base materials, your sandalwood, your orris, your things that actually improve with age. Whereas all your top notes and some of your other things, florals and stuff, don't improve with age, and that's just a fact of science, of fucking, you know, whatever. And I think there's a slightly like rosy kind of thing of it, which is why your wonderful samples from fucking Osmatique that is cool, like recreating as close to what you can, because then you've not got these oxidized fucking, you know, things muddy in the waters, literally making things like that were not as intended, right? So that is kind of my argument with the vintage. And don't get me wrong, I've bought and sold vintage bottles. I've got vintage bottles. I wear them. I enjoy some elements of them. But generally speaking, they all have this kind of, slightly degraded thing. And again, I don't mean to sound sort of disparaging saying that, but it's the truth. And this is within my favorite perfume, right? And it has all good stuff. So some of the top notes are intact, but it has this strange... vintagey like thing to it. And again, that's only from the bloody 90s, so you know it only gets kind of more pronounced as perfumes get older, you know.
Still 32 years,
and it's still brilliant. It's still brilliant, but I would argue that some of the newer bottles are still pretty good of that perfume, even though I don't own any of them, and both my bottles I've got are vintage, but you know, that's just the way it is. Anyway, so then I wore...
Can I just say, I love how sort of almost like absurdly committed you are to that one perfume. I think, you know, as a guy who's sort of studied thousands of perfumes, there is just the sort of top of the hill there for you, and you sort of know where it is. I think that's...
Yeah, I mean, like, it's nostalgia. It's all that things that everyone has about perfume that, like, it means a lot to me. Like, I smell it, and it still does to this day. I don't overdo it, though, because I used to wear it so much that I'm like, now that I've got so much perfume, I don't have to. But whenever I do revisit it, I'm like, that's my turf. That's my fucking... steez, that's my ground, you know what I mean? So anyway, but it's great.
I'm actually quite surprised that is the one for you.
I think it's just era wise.
I know. I think it's a phenomenal perfume and I love it. I really do love it. But I don't know if I'd have put that one as your absolute top 5. I don't know why. Oh,
I think again, like I don't know, like I'm not really, I wouldn't say I was like extrovert, right? But I saw it as like a kind of because at a certain age, like in the 90s or whatever, like nobody wore that, right? Not nobody, men and stuff wore it, right? And people, older people and whatever. Nobody at like my school or anything wore that. Yeah. And they were like, it was really individual to me, and it was almost it's almost a bit feminine in a sense. I mean, some people go, "Oh, yeah, it's really masculine."
And you do love your feminines, to be
but
honest.
It's like floral, and it's violet and stuff. And I was kind of like, it was my sort of I don't give a shit like kind of perfume. Yeah. That's how I see Fahrenheit, as this sort of like thing that like men might either they might gravitate towards a really manly smelling thing, you know, traditionally woody, leathery, whatever. or they might go to, because it was the fucking 90s, they'd just be getting Izzy Miyake or, the CK1 or whatever, which I was also into, but it was kind of like, that was my like proper jam. And as far as I was concerned, it was just a statement to say, like, look how like big and sort of, I don't know, I can smell. That's what I sort of took from it. And I just loved it, and I still do. Then I wore Agonist Hope. Anyone familiar with the brand Agonist? I think they're a Swedish brand. They had some like weird glass, like cool bottles that they used to have.
I have definitely tried an Agonist perfume. I think the brand's discontinued now.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. The guy did a really shite brand called Crayon, and I gave it a really hard time. And then he sent me some fucking like emails going, "Oh, you cunt, fucking blah blah blah," and I was just like, "Well, sorry, mate, but you made shit perfumes." I said, Agonist was a good brand. You had some really, you had loads of integrity, and now you've got no integrity at all. You've released 3 perfumes that are shite, and what the fuck has Crayon got to do with anything? It's a load of bollocks. And I think I said, it has no right. This should not exist. It doesn't need to exist. Why does it exist? It's fucking ridiculous. And he was like getting really offended that I'd said, why does this exist? And how dare I like say, why does something exist? So fuck that guy, really. But I quite like Agonist. They're quite a good brand.
It was Hope. It was Hope that I tried. I'm just checking.
Yeah, Hope is a kind of...
It was all right.
Yeah. It's a sort of over-the-top Terre d'Hermès-ish vibe. When I say that, it doesn't smell like Terre d'Hermès, but it's like vetiver and a really candied orange smell to the point of like, it's quite ridiculous. But it's just a really good perfume. It's like I wear it and I go, yeah, this is excellent. It's kind of quite strange. And I got it from TK Maxx for fuck all, because again, they were being discontinued, as you've sort of said. And I got it for next to nothing. And the bottles are beautiful. Even the new bottles, like not the fancy, blown glass sort of ones. These are like, they've just got all the notes on the outside, like all the accords or whatever. Yeah. And they're a really satisfying bottle. They don't look much, but they're almost like a Serge Lutens, like sort of obelisk kind of shape. Not obelisk, like the fucking thing from Monolith. That's it.
Monolith.
The thing from what's it? That film,
Space Odyssey.
Yeah. Anyway, then I wore Mint 3D Scent. So Mint is a brand, M-Int. Do you know this? M
M-Star Int.
Yeah. M-Star Unt.
Nice.
Yeah. When I first smelled it, and we're going back to this weird Legionella-y fucking smell that I was going on about, it's like slightly stagnant, like water. That slightly off, unsweet, like water smell. It has that in the top notes, but to me, that's something of like pairing it with sandalwood or something. That whole like Santal 33 sort of thing. And I was just really annoyed by it. But also, oak moss has this thing, and this says it has an oak moss accord to it, and I can get that that's probably quite an oak mossy like thing. It's quite a modern perfume, but then as it wore on after that like opening, which is quite horrible, it goes really, really nice and goes to like this musky, really lovely, like creamy woods and sort of musk thing. I kind of like the brand, but I don't want to because they're kind of a bit ridiculous. But I kind of want one of them bottles. Have you seen the bottles?
Yeah,
they're a bit
really
like
nice.
a Mancera, but they're like super cool, like futuristic kind of shit. And I really ended up liking it to the point where I would dismiss that horrible opening just to wear it because it doesn't last that late. It's not like the opening's like a few hours or something. It's like literally for like 20 minutes. It's pretty awful. And then it goes really nice after that. So I enjoyed that, yeah. There is another one which has the least inspiring name you've ever heard in your life, which is called Vibrant Scent.
Vibrant scent.
Vibrant scent.
That sounds like it should be on the shelf in Zara.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It is fantastic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love it. I think I've never seen them reduced anywhere. I was hoping they'd be in a bargain bucket at some point. Not praying for the downfall of the brand. Sorry, guys, but, you know, you should really get in TK Maxx soon. You know, call it a day. Give it up. You know, you tried. Just, you know, hang up your fucking niche brand and maybe release another one. But don't do that, like, crayon bullshit. So anyway, yeah, so great. Then I wore Frederic Malle Music for a While, which I love. It's got that kind of, like, you've just tipped some, like, pineapple juice on a counter and then, like, left it to go sticky for ages and then got loads of really beautiful, like, lavender, which shouldn't work at all, which should be awful. But it's just art. It's just, like, brilliant perfume.
Sorry, hang on. I didn't hear the name of the perfume there, but I'm guessing from your description, it's Music for a While.
Well done.
Yeah,
it was Music for a While.
Yeah.
I fucking love that.
I hated that. I hated it so much. I should have loved it. Pineapple, lavender, it should have been an absolute winner. But for some reason, it was just like this unyielding kind of wet lavender that just kind of didn't ever want to fucking dry out. It was like it's like going out in a fucking storm and getting like wet socks, right? They won't ever dry out. I hated it so much. I might have to revisit it though, because I like your description.
I bloody love it. I understand why people wouldn't like it. I completely understand, but I just think it's so like, you know, maybe if it was from another brand, because I'm a bit of a snob like that, I'd go, oh yeah, what a load of shit. But because it's Frederic Malle, no, that's not true. I don't do that. So no, I wouldn't do that. But no, because it's Frederic Malle, I'm kind of a bit more like, you know, on side with it. To be honest, when I first smelled it, like instantly, I was like, nah, what is this? What the fuck is this? And I was like, this doesn't fit in with the aesthetic of the brand. It's weird. I don't know what's going on with it. And then it just grew and grew on me. And I was like, this is brilliant. This is amazing. And often the best smells are that way. So Music for a While, yeah, I love it. I've got a little mini bottle of it, but I desperately need to get a full bottle because I just adore it. Then I wore Neanderthal Them, which is by Ewan McCall, and it's probably one of the best leathers, even though on this particular wear, it did start to annoy me. It's a kind of orris, but not opulent. It smells like veg tanned leather to me, right? Probably one of the most accurate like leather accords that I've ever smelled. But it's not even intentionally supposed to be a leather perfume. But he actually said, "Oh right, like thanks for that description, and I get what you mean." But I don't think he was meant to be making a leather perfume. But I love it. I think it's brilliant. Even though it did slightly annoy me on that particular day. I don't know why, but I'm just, you know, I'm a bit of a finicky twat, aren't I? So anyway, but I generally do love it. Then I wore Eau Sauvage. We know about that. I've got a 200ml bottle.
We do.
Then I wore Gallivant Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
I think you've spoken about this one before. Do you like it?
No, I don't think I have ever spoken about it before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's not really one. I mean, I don't think I've ever spoken about any of the Gallivants, really, because generally speaking, I like them, but there's nothing that really sort of excites me from the brand particularly. And that's not me slagging them off, because I think they're all competent and good and all like somewhat reflective of the cities or whatever that they're, if you like, I don't know, like they're good. Brooklyn, right? I described it as kind of like it's almost like the I can't even remember what it's called. The Dior that's really popular in France, the Dior Privé that's really popular in France. Which one's that?
Bois d'Argent.
Yeah, Bois d'Argent. So it's like that, where you go, why is this so wildly popular? Or Cedrat Boisy, or whatever. You know what I mean? Where you go, Why is
Sedi B?
Sedi B?
We're only referring to it as Sedi. Yeah, exactly. Sedi B from Mansura. Bobby Mansura's Sedi B.
So, like, I think Brooklyn really is like a kind of bergamot, and then into this slightly, I mean, even along the same lines as Cedric Boss. So you've got this kind of vanillic, like musk kind of element to it. But on this particular occasion, like I say, it dried down. And I was thinking all these things like, why is this? Because I don't know. You'd have to ask, what's his face? The guy from Nick Stewart. Is it Nick Stewart?
Not sure it's
Nick
surname,
Summit.
but yeah, Nick.
Anyway, Nick, from the Gallivant brand. He, I don't have to ask him, but I think Brooklyn is one of the more popular ones. And I always kind of wonder why, because I was like, it's sort of, it's nice, but like, but maybe that is it. It rides this kind of like mid line of like appeal to, a lot of people or whatever. And actually by the end of the day, I was like, this is a really solidly good, like wearable, nice perfume. It's kind of fresh, but it's got this sort of sweet, and it's not too vanillic, and then that sort of goes away. And it's not got that clash that something like the Mansara does. So it's good. It's good. I really like it. It's pretty decent. Then we have Naomi Goodsir again, and this is Queer Velour. So Queer Velour is a very competent, very good iris type leather accord. It's just excellent. It's not like outstanding. There's probably better ones out there, but it's just very solidly good. They're worth a sniff, that brand, right? But again, nothing's really sort of doing too much for me. Then I wore Acqua di Parma Sandalo, which is kind of like a posh version of Mandate, which we've spoken about quite a bit. It's a sort of herbal man tonic thing, but loads of like sandalwood aroma chemicals, which I've kind of said don't really smell particularly real or whatever that means. But they do have this kind of really pungent, like it kind of has that creamy effect of like old style sort of sandalwoods, like you might get in something like the YSL Pour Homme or whatever, that sort of like toppy thing, and then this sort of creamy, like slightly weird thing underneath, but loads of Jarvanol, I'm assuming, right? Because it's relentless, right? It's absolutely relentless. So if you're not getting enough from your Mandate, because it's £3 from fucking B&M bargains,
B&M,
then this would be, your step up to getting an Acqua di Parma that's really quite present and lasts, a long time, and really hits you with the Jarvanol, also, I think.
Jarvanol's a kind of cinnamon kind of thing, isn't it? Like spicy, woody cinnamon sort of thing.
Oh, I don't know about that. I just get like really I can't even, like, I think a lot of people maybe conflate it with some of the more tenacious aroma chemicals. It may have a cinnamon top. It's one of those things that, like, if it's used, there's a threshold of of how much you can smell it, basically, right? And you only need like the tiniest little amount. Have you got some there?
No. Well, actually, I might do. I was just thinking, didn't we do Jarvanol when we did the musks?
Possibly. I think I may have sent some. Yeah, I think I did. I did. But it's very difficult because it's like, yeah, there's like a dose that you can use like up to, and then it doesn't matter if you put tons in after that, because you reach a kind of, everybody's got this sort of, I'm not describing it very well. My head's a bit up my arse, sorry. So anyway, then I wore Born to Be Different. Is it Born to Be Different? Is that what they're called? Fig Porn.
Oh, Dare to Be Different. Was it? Oh no, it is Born.
Is it Born? Yeah, because I put that song, you know, that Born to be alive.
You hated the one you talked about last week.
Dirty Rice.
True, yeah.
Dirty Rice.
Hated Dirty Rice. Fig Porn. Are you preparing yourselves for the...
Was there any porn involved?
There's certainly not that much fig, to be honest, and not really much porn. It's no Philosicos and it's no Fig My Love, right? Because they have this like natural, actual somebody who's observed a fig, what a fig is, and gone, okay, it's got loads of like stemone we talked about the other week, and loads of these kind of like fresh sort of things. But yes, in a fig accord, you do use ethyl maltol, right? Because you need to get that sweetness in there. And ethyl maltol is actually a perfect thing for making this fig accord. However, this just seems to have gone, no, we're going for this more of like this like dried, like really sweet fig. And it's just a bit much. And then all of a sudden, after it being like that for a while, do you remember I was saying about that ambery, mooglery feel, but with loads of ethyl maltol? It's a bit like Angel or some shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of like, what is going on here? But without the patchouli and some of the awful other shit that's in there. But this is like, no, I'm not feeling this at all. Yes, it's kind of a fig, but it's more of like a sort of peary, like fruity, overly sweet ethyl maltol bullshit. But then after a while, you start to get more of like, it actually tones down and you go, oh, okay. And then like, I went outside, for example, and I smelled it sort of in the fresh air. And I was like, yeah, there is a fig element. It's not that fresh, like watery fig. It's not like, it'll never be that. But it was kind of okay. And I sort of enjoyed it after a few hours, to be honest. So I'm not going to completely slate it. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. But, you know, that's not exactly a great thing to say about the brand. So I've tried 3.
Not the most ringing endorsement, to be honest.
No, it isn't. I've tried 3 from that brand now, and I'm kind of like, meh, you know. And they've got other ones called like, I don't know, dirty names, haven't they? Like,
twat face.
Yeah, there's like, I mean, like sex and cognac, unholy oud, you know, smoking gun, drunk saffron, like, you know, indecent cherry. You know, like
indecent cherry.
Yeah.
That sounds like the shittest name ever for a perfume.
Yeah.
They sound like doer names, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Hinoki shower,
yeah,
naked neroli.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, so loads of bullshit. There's one called like "Don't Give a Fuck" or something like that, but it's like just the abbreviation.
Yeah. Yeah, a brand like that claiming to not give a fuck when everything about their branding is so sort of consciously observed. It just reeks of fucking lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, and giving a massive fuck along. Then I wore Strange Love Melt My Heart, which I bought off the lovely Fliss.
There's a lovely Fliss.
Yeah.
Well, I wish this Fliss would introduce us to it.
So there it is. Yeah, just
there it is.
Just wonderful. It
is fucking epic.
That's all I'm saying. So we've done a whole eps on that. So go back and listen to those. And then Mont Blanc Presence for Men I'm wearing today, which is a kind of it's all that like bullshit that you hate about the other one, whatever that Individuel, that one, which is kind of like dupey, isn't it? Sort of smells like that dupey bullshit.
Basically Creed Original Santal.
Yeah, so Creed Original Santal. This is like a well better version. Kind of reminds me of like, again, I want to say like a curry, but it's not really a curry. I don't know, it'd be like a Massaman curry or something, but like it's kind of sweet. It's kind of like, yeah, just spices, but really kind of quite delicate, but sort of sandalwood-ish, but a little bit soapy. I absolutely love it. I think it's brilliant, but it's dead cheesy and tacky, and it is essentially like a dupe type fragrance, but I still love it. I fucking love it.
And that is us up to date.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. I feel like I need a break after that. I mean,
we all do.
Just Yeah, we do. I can't think of any news. Has anyone got any news they're desperate to vomit out onto the old audio file?
We've got Patreon.
Oh, yeah, we have. Someone who understands how this shit works best explain that at some point.
Well, if you want to support the podcast, you can go on to patreon.com and /whatever Les Oderants. Find us somehow. No, we'll put a link.
Don't slash us.
No, there's a link. There's a link on our page thing. I think we should create an advert for it. Like a little advert that we can just stick in to the podcast. And just say
something slightly more coherent than this.
Yeah.
I think this is really good. This is on brand.
Well,
it's true.
Basically, if you want to support the podcast, then go and you can support us from. And Fliss and I are doing extra content, so we'll be talking to some perfumers and various people. And if you want that extra little mini podcast, you will get that on Patreon. So
because fuck knows you don't hear enough of us in the normal one.
I know. So
So I mean, basically, just as soon as we've got enough money for a Lambo, I will be over the moon.
Amazing.
I think we may be some way off that. Okay, good. Well, that sounds intriguing. In the meantime, let's wrap this motherfucker up. We will be back in just a few short minutes with part 2 of Les Oderants. Stick with us. Hello and welcome back to Les Oderants. This week we are going to be talking all about patchouli. And I'll be honest, I sort of struggle a little bit with patchouli. On the whole, my impression is that I don't like it when I can smell it. It's a bit like celery, an analogy I've used before, but I can't think of a better one. Patchoulis, I tend to prefer them if they are dry and arid and not all too sort of soggy and damp. The minute they veer into that territory, they remind me of some sort of like fucking head shop at Glastonbury, like in a tent full of crusties and stuff, and I hate that. So let's get into patchouli as a bit of a thing. Fliss, tell us a little bit about the history of patchouli, because I know that you have studied this at some length.
Not very much length, but a little bit of length. The length that I've studied it in tells me that patchouli really began to become, well, it was introduced in the mid-1800s when India was exporting shawls, cashmere shawls and silks over to England and Europe. And because the journey via the ship or however they were transporting them was very long, there was an opportunity for moths to chew this beautiful, very rich and delicate produce. And so that they would put patchouli leaves, layer patchouli leaves between the cashmere shawls and the silks. And so when some of these very rare items finally got themselves into the hands of upper class ladies who could afford to purchase them, they would come with this very delicious smell. And the smell became synonymous with this expensive, your shawl was a better cashmere shawl if it came all the way from India, and you could tell that it came from India because it smelled of patchouli, because that's what they transported it in, if you know what I mean.
So it's bragging rights.
It was a bragging right, and the smell of patchouli became a bragging right. Then obviously there was a kind of sort of trickle down effect, and there's sort of like a bit of hearsay around, a gentleman might go into a shop and purchase 2 shawls, one for his wife and one for maybe his mistress or a courtesan that he particularly favoured.
Courtesan, a juggling courtesan.
And so then the smell of patchouli became synonymous with not just very, very high class ladies, but then also the smell of, the dressing rooms of the music halls and whatever and stuff like that. So then it dropped out of fashion with very, very expensive ladies. But however, in the meantime, perfumers had already begun to use it in perfume because the French wool trade and the Dutch wool trade were infusing their own shawls with patchouli as a way of lying that they were coming from India, if you see what I mean. It's like, so they were using the scent of the patchouli in order to fake glamorous produce. But then obviously all the ladies of the night were also wearing these shawls and this perfume and these cheaper shawls that were infused with it, and so it became like it fell out of fashion. Then in the 70s, it became fashionable again because it was used to cover up the smell of marijuana. And when people were smuggling marijuana, they would again wrap it in patchouli leaves, apparently.
Well, that's interesting because I wore that perfume the other week, and Ben was talking about cannabis accords and how they're probably based on patchouli. And some people do get that like association. Another is sort of interesting thing along that line of them putting them in the garments and all that. It repels. There's evidence to show that it repels mosquitoes as well. So the smell of patchouli oil
repels fucking everything living thing, isn't it?
It repels Ben.
Not a fan then, Ben.
Is it just when you can really smell it you don't like it? Or can you
I mean,
really...
I don't dislike it if it's not perceptible. That's fine. That can crack on. But yeah, if I can smell it, it's not. I'm not too into it.
My husband has a homing instinct for patchouli, and he can smell it in almost anything, and he thinks it smells of death. And I had to sell my EDT of Coromandel because it literally used to make him gag. He said it just smells so bad.
Yeah,
a little bit like death. I get that. Yeah, I get that association as well. But also, I think it almost like your French ladies, because of like that 70s head shop association, it feels like it's sort of out of fashion. And I smell it and I just go, oh, like dated, out of fashion, grolly, like cabbage water. I don't know. It's just...
But
I know exactly what you mean about the cabbage water thing. There are like, you get these perfumes that are just meant to be like straight kind of patchoulis. Like there's a Perfume and Roma one called patchouli, and a lot of these ones they have a sort of have a kind of vegetal sort of quality about them that I don't like, and that's the dampness. But often it kind of veers almost into a sort of chocolatey sort of chewiness to it, which you get from like overdosing on it. I don't know whether that's the right term.
I was about to say exactly the same thing. There's like, I think that in those pure patchoulis, you've got that one half, something like Patchouli Antique by Les Nereides, which is now on our Payan, which I think is like the gold standard, straight up
that one and
patchouli.
Molinard are like the two, aren't
the
they,
two
though?
Absolutely gold standards. And there is that sort. I remember sending a sample to somebody on the group, and they said it smelt like the back of a lath and plaster wall of an 18th century French farmhouse. That kind of damp dustiness. But I really like that.
Absurdly specific, but I like it.
Yeah, I like that. But then, like you say, there's that chocolatey feel. So I was actually testing. What was I testing this week? Which was by Obscuratio 25. It's a new one a newish one by L'Artisan Parfumeur. But the way that the patchouli handled is so chocolatey and truffly, it almost puts me in mind of something like Black Orchid by Tom Ford, where it's not that dry, dusty patchouli at all. It's very warm and mushroomy, chocolatey feel. And I like that as well.
Then you get perfumes like L'Instant de Galan that uses that chocolatey like sort of feel and sort of uses the patchouli to heighten that, doesn't it?
Which is, I think, what Coromandel does when they say that it has a white chocolate note, but that white chocolate note it's sitting on a base of patchouli that increases it, for me anyway.
And it was the patchouli that made me fucking hate Coromandel.
Go on, James.
Go on, get in there.
This is where, right, the patchouli, and I've said this before, right, the patchouli and vetiver, irrespective of whether you like them or you think you like perfumes that are patchouli centric or vetiver centric or whatever, those two materials are essential in perfume from a technical aspect, from a just putting them in to improve something that you wouldn't even dream. You don't even necessarily know it's got a patchouli note, but patchouli helps perfume be sort of perfumey, right? In low doses, in like higher doses that might then be sort of masked with other stuff. It's just like a wonderful material. And it's also used, the natural stuff as well, quite a lot in products that you wouldn't necessarily think, like washing up, like, I don't know, washing powders and like, fabric softeners or like, different things like that where you're like, oh, okay, they're actually using an interesting like natural material, and you wouldn't necessarily be able to smell it, but it gives it a kind of tenacity and a thing that like perfumers clearly obviously like to work with. And yeah, I mean, like for example, I'm reading in this book here, right? So this is the kind of Natural Materials Bible by Stefan Arctander, and it says so it blends beautifully with labdanum, vetiver, sandalwood, ionones, cedarwood derivatives, coumarin, oak moss, geranium, clove oils, lavender, rose, bergamot, neroli, orris, resinoid, nitro musks, cinnamates, methyl salicylate, cassia oil, myrrh, apopanax, clarisage absolute, borneol, pine needle oils, cyclohexone derivatives, etc. So basically, everything.
Everything,
yeah.
Basically fucking
And,
everything.
That is kind of like the nature of patchouli, is that it's it can be green, it can add like an earthiness, it can add that chocolatey, like almost sort of gourmand leather. It can, do you know what I mean? There is no, and it has like a tar-like phenolic kind of note to it, so it can go into the smokiness of your cedarwood oils. It's just like it's a fascinating sort of material, and it's one that I probably share a similar taste-wise sort of opinion, traditionally, as maybe Dan and Ben. That you kind of don't like it when it's an overt patchouli perfume, but I do, and it's grown on me. It's grown on me over time, and I would wear the most brutal patchouli now that you could imagine. A real exploration of patchouli, just because I think it's such a wonderful thing, and it's an acquired taste that has really grown on me.
Well, shall we bust out some of these samples, which have been incredibly kindly sent to us by Harry Sherwood, British perfumer, creator of Cosmic Incense for Hoo-Ha, amongst other things. I think he did the Memoirs of a Perfume Collector collection as well.
I believe he did one of those,
for I think he did.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
he did all of them. But he's and he's a handsome beggar too. So that's nice. So thank you for sending these, Harry. We shall now get stuck into them, and James is going to talk us through them because out of the lot of us, he's the one most into the whole technical stuff, I guess. James,
well,
where
I've
are
done
we
no
starting?
research, so I don't really know. What these are. I'm just going to smell them. No, I mean, I've used patchouli materials obviously before, so I know roughly what like some of them are. But generally, yeah, I mean, let's just dive into them and we'll see. So the first one I think we should look at is Clearwood, because again, without sort of checking, I believe it's derived from patchouli oil. But it's a very cleaned up version. So let's have a sniff of it, and you see if you think
it is sort of what I think patchouli smells like, but without all the claggy.
It's not very dank, is it? It's not very dank.
Sort of. No, it's almost like it's, but it doesn't come across kind of dry and parchmenty either. It's almost like it's almost like someone's taken the sort of wetness fragrance that I associate with patchouli and sort of skimmed out all the fucking wetness from it to just leave the kind of residual fragrance. It's quite pleasant, isn't it? Actually. I can see how that would work nicely in a perfume.
I just feel like if this was in a perfume, I probably wouldn't actually like clock it as patchouli necessarily. It smells quite woody, and I feel like patchouli wouldn't sort of like rise out of me as being like, oh, this is patchouli. It's almost like a kind of more rotten wood kind of thing.
It smells to me very woody, and it's claiming here that it's a clean smelling natural facsimile of patchouli oil made by Firmenich, who describe it this way: clear wood, TM, is an intense, long-lasting woody note, but at the same time light and transparent. It differs from the other dark woody notes by its simplicity and cleanness, brings great versatility and lends itself to every conceivable product type, for home care through to fine fragrance. And I don't think it does smell, for me, it doesn't smell what I would consider to be like a pure straight patchouli oil, like a patchouli essential oil in the same way, but I know what they mean about that clean smellingness of it. But I think it does smell a bit dusty.
It's got a little like touch of that sort of thing that you would think is patchouli, right? But it has this like clarity. It's almost like if Jean-Claude Elena like made patchouli oil. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of like, it's got that sort of transparency to it. And it is, because it's weird that like you would describe it as clean, because you probably wouldn't think that about patchouli. Not that it's really grubby or whatever, but I think what this does is take away, and you'll probably get that from some of the other ones, there is like a dank, like rubbery note to patchouli, which is too much for people who really don't like patchouli. So I think revisiting this afterwards and going, this is a really polite sort of thing. I'm trying to find the bloody thing that Harry said about it. He said it was like, he described it as kind of like patchouli oil, but it's been like, it works in the city now, and it's like wearing like a sharp suit and all this kind of stuff. And he gave like a really cool little like blurb about it. And this was like ages ago. I'll have to find it. But anyway, that, and I was like, yeah, that's it. Like, you know what I mean? It's a kind of cleaned up version of patchouli. So to me, the equivalent with like a vetiver would maybe be something like vetiveryl acetate. So that is like something that's derived from the thing, but it doesn't have a lot of the real deep like character of it. But I think as far as being a useful material, clearwood is a massively useful material. And you can use it in quite high doses. And I think you need to use it in quite high doses because it's it really like it's quite discreet. But I think, again, if you use it properly, it's a hugely useful material. And especially if you don't want a really dank, really full-on patchouli note.
Do we know any particular perfumes that this is used in?
It's in Cosmic Incense, Gallivant Naples, Stranger's Parfumery, Scotch Peat. Menegildo Zegna, Javanese Patchouli uses it, apparently. Which, Javanese Patchouli is actually a decent like patchouli perfume that I would actually wear.
Interestingly, it is in Costa Brazil Aroma, which is so Costa Brazil make all sorts of like I think skincare and spa type products, and Aroma is their first perfume.
It's the one you said smelled just like a spa.
Exactly, yeah, I've got it. It comes in a little wooden box and it smells like a spa. It smells like one of those spa diffusers, and that has a clear wood in it.
It's interesting. I think it's an interesting smell.
It's impersonal, for God's sake.
But you would, it definitely. I'm going to sound. This is going to sound really naff, but you obviously need to put other things in there with it.
Well, it's not perfume on its own.
No, it's not. I mean, obviously,
this is the crucial thing to it, right? And I don't want to give away my whole, way that I make perfumes. I don't make perfumes at the moment, but here's a little thing, right? So you have a thing, and the thing is, patchouli oil is not particularly expensive. As a material, it isn't. It's quite abundant. And, you know, yes, you can get different grades and qualities and stuff. But generally speaking, it ain't that, you know, it's not the material that's going to, like, you know, break the bank or whatever. And the thing is, when you have materials like this that have the character and all the thing of it, and there's no real, like, restriction on using it and stuff like that, you can use that to extend out maybe a really nice patchouli oil that you then use to make your patchouli accord. So using things like this are really good when you find a really great material that you can go, oh, I can use like quite a lot of this, and I can extend out another material that I don't want to necessarily use a lot of. Then it's really useful.
Like what I find fascinating about like Clearwood and all aroma chemicals, they smell like everything and nothing. Like they have a very particular, like, pinpoint, like if you have a scale, like, for example, if you visualize a perfume and you put it into a sort of scale, like it pinpoints a very particular frequency on that scale, but nothing else. And it's really weird to smell them by themselves, because you can smell the nothing almost. It's like, you know, it's like it's dead air. Do you know what I mean? Or it's like it's almost impossible, because I think
I sort of know what you mean
really
when you
way, but then that is,
so it's like putting the varnish over a picture,
but
in terms of you're bringing out the colours with a non-colour.
Yeah, it's weird. They're weird. They're just, I don't know. They're very interesting things. It reminds me a little bit of all of the, you know, that the really famous, like, woody family of aroma chemicals. You know, like Terre d'Hermès,
like Isoe Super
and
Isoe Super Gamma.
That's it. Yeah. Like that family of aroma chemicals is very similar as well, in that it's like everything and nothing. But I don't know if that's just a bit abstract. So perhaps, let's move on. Terrasol.
So go on, Fliss. What do you like about Terrasol?
Well, I just say I wouldn't wear it as a perfume, obviously. But there's a quite a stringent, almost minty feel at the top, and then the bottom smells just like damp earth. It smells what I would call jasmine. If I smelt this, I'd go, "Oh, there's jasmine," but it's not jasmine, obviously.
You get mushrooms from it at all?
But that, that really sort of like, not just damp but slightly rotting feel, wet, the floor of a forest after the rain. But the thing that sets it apart from the jasmine is this very astringent top note.
It is almost
which is
minty,
almost minty. Right. That I can smell.
I want to say menthol. To me, this is very mentholy.
Very good, guys. Very good.
You've
hit on every facet of this material. Well,
are we allowed to be podcasters?
I'm just praising you. I'm not patronising you. I'm praising how brilliant that is.
No.
You basically touched on everything, and that whole thing of, you know, the damp soil after the rain, and you know, all that kind of thing, and the jasmine. Now, jasmine to me is much more brutally strong than this, right? And really does have to be used deftly. This, right? So I smelled this and I was like, I've never heard of Terrasol before. What is Terrasol, right? And I smelled it and I went, oh, it smells like ethyl fenchel, right? Which is a kind of, I don't think they use it as much anymore, but there's like something called mushroom alcohol, and then there's like various different fenchols and, like, you know, different numbers and shit. I don't like fully know, but I think it's 2-ethyl fenchol is the one that I've got. It is 2-ethyl fenchol. Yeah.
It's the same. Yeah. So it says here that it's
that's right. So
there's a different name.
Yeah. So Terrasol is a brand name.
Yeah.
So you've got to bear in mind when you smell all these chemicals that they have various different chemical names, and they also have, just based on the fact that probably the full chemical name is so fucking long that they pick bits out of it to be, oh, it's also known as this, or it's known as this, or whatever. And also they have the brand name. So, you know, various different companies might have their, you know, their brand name or whatever. So yeah, Terrasol. I mean, I love it. I'm not necessarily mad about perfumes like this. I think Ben, I mean, do you not love this, Ben, this smell?
Yeah, and it reminds me a little of Amouage Figment.
Yes,
Figment
totally. Amouage Figment, there's a couple of Christopher Brosis that really smell like this.
It's quite sweaty. It reminds me a little of a fresh, sweaty t-shirt or something. It's got like this. Yeah, I don't know if it's like the minty kind of sourness, but it's got I don't know, a bit of a kind of sweat, but not in a BO way or
the longer it dries on my strip, the more that kind of wet earth gelsomini thing that I'm smelling has going, and I'm left with a stronger and stronger menthol top.
But also bear in mind that we're
interesting.
Smelling, some straight chemicals here. I know they're not neat. They are actually. Yeah. I mean, that is in
straight up chemical action.
Well, I mean, like you're saying, it's very specific, but it's also, and you can get sort of fatigued from that. So it's good to put the strip down, maybe wait for a minute and then come back to it, and you'll go, oh right, okay, maybe it's changed, maybe it hasn't. But he did ask me, do you want me to put that? I said, put them in typical use concentrations, right? So there's no point in sending us raw stuff, because that is not typically what you would be evaluating your materials using. So this is at 5%, and it's pretty strong, isn't it? I mean, when you compare it to the Clearwood, if you go back and sniff the Clearwood now, you can't even right, I have to really, yeah. So
you barely smell it at all.
Yeah, but
Clearwood definitely, by contrast, absolutely does smell woodier. It's drier. It's considerably less patchouli like than the Terrasol one, I would say.
Would you say so? Yeah.
Terrasol's definitely got a sort of mildewy laundry room. I mean, if you've ever lived in a rented house, you probably know this smell.
But this is the thing that I can smell, and I think that my friend who I sent the Patchouli Antique, it has that mouldy feel to it. But I mean, obviously in Patchouli Antique, it's very, very minimal. But that mouldy. Someone was telling me, I met someone who collected wine a while ago, and they were telling me about how all the different notes. And we got talking about notes because obviously it's quite similar in some ways. And they were saying that in a good wine, there is something. There's a thing called le rot, which is the rot, which is when a wine goes bad. But there are certain types of the beginnings of those rots that actually add to something. So, like in a perfume, you could do something very, very pretty, but if you put a bit of BO in it, suddenly it becomes more. And I feel like that this Terrasol is almost like that, but for patchouli, where there is those. If you just. I'm not explaining myself very well, but I feel like this is like the wine equivalent.
A little bit of rot.
A little bit of rot, a little bit of dirty, a little bit of...
that little bit of filth.
Underneath. A little bit of filth,
I forget what it was we were talking about, but there was definitely an episode where we were talking about that concept of having just a little bit of filth in something. Something that is just slightly out of place. Just that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was James. It was. I forget. Fucking hell. My brain is absolute mush now. But I feel confident, James. It was something somewhere. Maybe it was Frederick Mal.
Right.
It was you were talking about Frederick Mal, saying it was something to do with the little bit of disgustingness or filth or something in a perfume is what make it.
Oh, we did a whole episode about that, didn't we? And Frederick Mal.
That's exactly what he said. Yeah, there's some quote. Yeah, there's some quote from Mal saying exactly.
Yeah. See, I'm not imagining it. Good. Right. Okay. Well, look. Let's keep moving because I feel like I'd like to get them all tested and then come back through them.
I'd say that this next one. So this is the Patchouli Crude, which is from Sulawesi, which is an island in Indonesia, and. Again, I'm just assuming this is a crude patchouli oil. Now, there is the Givaudan have got a page on Sulawesi and the sustainable patchouli production there. I would say this is more characteristically patchouli and hardly surprising. It's the first real patchouli oil that we've tried. What do you think? Is that more characteristic of what you would think a patchouli oil smells like?
Yeah. definitely. This smells almost like an essential oil to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well. So I'm now confused. I mean, like I'm always fucking confused. But so I made this big song and dance about how that kind of patchouli oil head shop sort of like tent at Glastonbury vibe. I really don't like it. This is exactly that to me, and yet I really like this. I think this smells fucking brilliant.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
It reminds me a little bit of Cypriol. It's got that sort of brownness to it that Cypriol has. It's slightly earthy, quite grainy chunkiness.
Does anyone get a slight... If you're familiar with oud oils, do you get a little oudy thing to it?
Yeah. I could go with that. Yeah, I really like it. It's really nice, but it's.
I think it's quite bright as well.
You can see it in the synthetic oud accords, can't you? That you, especially those kind of like cheaper Arab Emirates knockoff perfumes that you get on eBay and that have supposedly got oud in, which are obviously like synthetic oud. And I feel
it's
like
kind of
it's got
sweet,
a bit of that in it.
But you get a little bit of the barnyard. If you just kind of get past that a little bit, you just get this little glimpse of like slightly, like what you describe as that kind of like, like a barnyardy kind of vibe.
So I'm used to smelling. This is going to sound stupid, but the smell that I think I'm used to smelling this in tends to be paired with an oud, but also has almost a sort of chlorinated kind of feel to it. Almost like, they've sort of extracted this somehow using a chlorine bleaching agent or something. But this noticeably doesn't have that. It's almost like the noise has been removed from. So I've smelt this before, but in a noisy sort of environment, and all that noise is now gone, and it just smells absolutely fucking lovely.
Well, glad I'd see. There you go. You'd have these sort of epiphanies where you're like, actually, I do like really like patchouli, because it's one of those. It's quite I don't know, like a sort of. There's something like visceral about it. It smells like earth. It smells like kind of being outside, and
as it's kind of sort of drying down on my strip now, it's smelling more earthy to me as well.
Oh, I love this. I absolutely love this. It's really good. And he's sent like a load of it, so I assume this is cheap as chips, or like he's now our fucking rich benefactor.
Well, it's one or the other. It's diluted. It's at 20% in ethanol, but I think like I say, the patchouli oil is like reasonably okay priced. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so abundant, and like it's used quite a lot. You can get hold of it, reasonable, like good quality and whatever. And there's all these places that produce it. And yeah, I mean, that is a particularly, that's a nice material. I would definitely use that in a perfume. I think it's lovely. So yeah.
So to counter this, should we check out Patchouli Cœur next, or Cœur? Because I know a perfume that this is definitely used in big amounts, and I know that everyone hates
Patchouli
it.
Cœur means heart.
Right?
Yeah. Tell me the first perfume you can think of when you smell this, because I know that we've all smelt it, and I know that we all fucking hate it.
Well, I mean, we all hate it?
Yes.
Yeah.
All hate it.
Yeah.
Surge off Birdie.
Oh, I don't know Birdie.
Ah, well, it's this rubbery patchouli that is basically this.
This is.
You're not getting
I
that.
can't remember Birdie well enough. I just remember I hated it. But this is very much that wet patchouli that that I associate with kind of like, soggy, green, earthy sort of perfumery. I can imagine it is used in Birdie because it smells like a fucking golf course.
It's the fucking worst. This is everything I hate about patchouli. That soggy, dank, deep green, slightly rubberized, vomit-inducing scum fest.
But it's weird because it is a bit like the patchouli crude, but just like, I mean, because these are all like sort of slightly different faces of the same kind of shape, right? But this is just
slimier, though.
Yeah.
So, in theory, this patchouli cur is obtained after traditional patchouli essential oil has undergone rectification. So, they've.
Is that where they shove it up your ass? Is that what?
Is what you want them to? It's been basically cleaned or washed again.
Correct. So, heart.
Apparently.
The name heart usually implies that it's some sort of rectified oil. And again, does it lose something, or does it gain something as a perfumery material? Because that's why there's so many of these materials, right? It's not like one's better than the other, or I like this in a perfume. I would say this so far, right? And I little bit like biased because I have used this material before. That this is from a producer called Albert Viel. And it's very commonly, I mean, the materials from them are fantastic quality, and you know what you're getting. Do you know what I mean? If you're getting stuff from there. And the thing is about this is that if you want a very specific vibe of patchouli without some of the other stuff that you don't want, then you probably wouldn't use the crude. If you don't want, there's a kind of heaviness to the crude, if you like. Whereas this is a bit more focused. Whether it's focused in a direction that you like, particularly, that's neither here nor there. It's,
It almost smells to me slightly more cedary. It's much woodier. Much woodier, and it almost smells slightly like a polished wood floor. That, to me, and all of that dampness. It's
slightly sort of woodshop vibes as well, like that sort of smoky, burnt cedar.
So I was just comparing the patchouli cur to the clear wood, and for me, the clear wood is like almost. So the patchouli cur has this kind of huge kind of range to it, but the clear wood is almost like you've just kind of chopped off the upper and lower elements of the range and just pulled out the fucking clean woody aspect from the middle of the patchouli cur. I can sort of almost smell clear wood somewhere inside the patchouli cur.
It does.
If that makes any fucking sense at all. Yeah, no, the patchouli cur does to me really nail that head shop vibe, and it's much deeper and more vegetal for me than the crude, and it's definitely heading into the territory that I don't like patchouli.
It's danker, isn't it, and slimier.
I think out of the two of them, certainly for sort of clarity. Then you would probably the clearwood and the patchouli cur are probably the more useful materials, just from immediately from my point of view. I think if you had a very specific sort of brief or project in mind where you wanted more of that jasmine type mushroomy kind of smell, obviously you'd incorporate some of the terrasol. But I think like the patchouli crude really is for like a patchouli centric perfume perhaps, whereas these would be more, you'd use them as a sort of note or something to give that effect, like I was talking about, where you get the patchouli but you don't get any of that rubbery sort of wetness or whatever. Like I say, they're all useful for different aspects of perfumery, and it's interesting to smell them, but there's a context here that we're kind of maybe slightly missing just because we're not blending perfumes and we don't, routinely make perfumes. But
of course,
it's still interesting to smell them in isolation.
So the crude and the cur, there is obviously some similarity there. So first, yeah. I see the cur and the crude as sort of slightly overlapping circles, whereas the clearwood and the cur, it's like a Russian doll. The clearwood is somewhere inside the cur, but the crude, it still has this sort of slightly transparent kind of I don't know, glassy sort of feel to it. I really like it. I'm very surprised by how overtly patchouli it is and how much I like it.
So I'm just reading a little thing here, and it says that patchouli cur is commonly used in things like Antaeus, Kouros, Yataghan by Charon. So anything that's also it's often beefed up with a castoreum or acidity note, apparently. Just reading.
Yeah. I mean, it's sweeter, but it also has a sort of like musky, BO-y.
There's much less there, isn't there? So really, you're smelling like oils or things that are kind of pared down versions of an oil, whereas this, I believe, is just a molecule, which you can immediately sort of go. It's not one-dimensional because it's still got like facets of stuff, but it's like immediately you're kind of like it's not as three-dimensional as the others. I don't think. Mildly pissy, might just be me.
Yeah.
But,
well, I wasn't thinking pissy, but it smells like a not particularly filthy armpit. It doesn't stink like a fucking horrible armpit, but like sort of clean but undeodorized armpit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit. I smell more in this like a sort of camphorous note, which again is sort of alluded to in the clearwood, like that slightly like minty. Again, it's got a top note, but it's sweeter in this.
It's interesting, isn't it? But then again, I can imagine that this, in a fairly bland floral, would just turn it enough to make you go, ooh.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a little hook in there that's that slightly not quite right, dirty. I mean, you wouldn't want like a single molecule perfume like this. Like they wouldn't make like molecule. Gazer Schön wouldn't like chuck out patchouli in Den, would he? Like in the same way as he does with Molecule 1, because you wouldn't want to smell like this. But I can imagine it in something, just giving something.
Again,
a bit
if
of
you didn't want that full body of the patchouli, and you're like, I don't want to stick patchouli oil in here. One, because there'll be a certain threshold where I have to put it in, so you can't smell it. Then it's too much, and it might flatten other things or give the thing. Whereas this, because it's just that one frequency, if you like, let's use that analogy, you're just picking that out slightly, and like you say, it just gives it this camphorous, slightly toppy, but again it's got this slightly dirty like thing to it. So again, another useful material, but this is very much pinpoint accuracy now. We're not talking about just we're going for a big patchouli vibe, we're going to put loads of like really sort of complex stuff like the crude or some of the kind of pairing of the oils. We're going to use this really accurate like molecule to just give it this very particular quality.
Ben, you're looking super pensive.
There's nothing about these that have changed my opinion on patchouli, I think.
Really?
Terrasol, I'm kind of into. But the others, I feel like I haven't had that revelation that you've had, for example, of like, oh, actually, I like this.
I'm an absolute novice, mate. So
I have
revelations every 20 minutes.
No, I just smell them and I feel like, yeah, it's what I was expecting, like sort of dank green nastiness. There are facets of all of them, I think, that I enjoy more than I was expecting. Maybe like that earthy vibe to him, and the Cur had that slightly smoked kind of cedary vibe that Fliss was mentioning. But generally speaking, like, yeah, they're all just heavy mid, kind of the big mid band green, and that just does nothing to me. I like the Terrasol though. Terrasol, I like that kind of really wet earth, amouage figment. I love, and that definitely has that Josminy kind of vibe to it. And I feel like it stands out from all the others as well. All the others smell something of a something, whereas Terrasol doesn't really smell like the rest of them.
Yeah, Terrasol still smells mentholy to me on the strip, which is surprising. But the thing, and I'm struggling obviously to condense this into a halfway coherent set of words, but I think I haven't changed my view that I don't desperately want patchouli in my perfumes, but I very much enjoy some of these materials. So particularly Patchouli Crude. There's something very, very evocative to me about kind of, a holiday somewhere, it's just got that whole fucking thing going on. I really like it.
Do you know what's interesting?
I'd wear it as a perfume.
I'm really glad that we've smelled them in this order, because we've got one more to go, and I'd be interested to now smell that one and see what you think in comparison. Now, really, a fair comparison here. Forget some of the other materials. Let's kind of just directly compare this with the Crude to begin with.
This is the one labelled Patchouli EO.
Do you think it's bad compared to the Crude?
I don't know. It might just be. I don't know whether these are different concentrations or. But I'm having to dig a bit deeper in this to smell it.
So this is a patchouli essential oil.
They're both,
isn't it?
I mean, they're both natural oils at 20% in ethanol. So they're comparatively same thing, but from different sources. I don't know what, I'm assuming that it's just, essential oil that's like steam distilled or whatever. I don't know what the Patchouli Crude, I mean, I'm assuming it's the same. But again, crude just means it hasn't had any treatment. Whereas some of these, obviously, the Terrasol and the Indene are molecules, and the Clearwood is, a refinement of patchouli oil, and the Cur is the same as well. So they're it's kind of cool. We've got two of the same thing, and then we've got two molecules, and then we've got two oils. So the direct comparison between these two, immediately I prefer the Crude, right? But I know that this...
the Crude smells... the Crude just smells better in every respect. Cleaner, brighter, dirtier. All of the facets are more. Whereas this just is... It's a bit flat in comparison now.
Absolutely. So I smelled this to begin with because it was the first thing that I smelled. I went, oh yeah, that's, patchouli oil that I've used before. That's the typical patchouli that I've bought before and used, right? And I thought, it smells okay. But when you've gone through the journey and you actually smell something that's really good, and then you return back to that, you go, oh my God, this is shit, right? Because I wasn't prepared to say it was shit to begin with, because I was like, okay, it's patchouli. But this is about like training your nose. This is about smelling different materials and understanding the difference between them. And even when you return back to it, you could go, oh yeah, that's not the shit one. And then you have to go on that little journey again and go, oh yeah, that's the good one, or what, whatever.
And this is because there's the quality of the leaves in terms of when they're harvested. So that the patchouli plant, from what I was reading, has about 3 harvests before a year. The first one is the best one because it's got the youngest leaves. And I think the patchouli plant itself only lasts a short number of years as well before they have to start all over again. So you've got the quality of the leaves that affect it. Then you've got whether or not it's been steam distilled or fractionally distillated, or, you know, there's a number of different processes for extracting that oil. And then you've got a third thing, which is then how they deal with that oil. Is it clean or not? Apparently, IFA have been getting involved with some of the patchouli dudes in Indonesia and giving them just better things to do the distillation in. So they were previously using lots of like plastic buckets and stuff, which is affecting the smell. And they're like being sponsored to you know, give them better refraction techniques.
Sure.
And then you can re-wash the leaves again and steam distill the leaves, apparently, once they've already even been gone through once. And then you get like a watery, less exciting thing that you can still use, but that's maybe not perfume ready.
Well, I'm assuming that different growing conditions affect the essential oil production. So obviously, you know, you have a richer sort of nutrients and things in the soil, you get better essential oil. I'm tempted,
pH as well,
actually.
apparently.
pH, there you go. Yeah, all these things that, you know, you can get really dialed in. I mean, I'm tempted to grow some patchouli just to see, one, how much you can yield from an amount of it. I believe you can grow it, even though it's grown in like exotic places, it's not a direct sunlight kind of thing. You can kind of keep it sort of half in the shade or whatever. So like, I'm really tempted to grow it because, one, I want to smell it like as it's grown, because I believe it probably is like you go near the plant and you can smell it.
Apparently not until it's been dried for at least 2 weeks, and then they have to cure the leaves again for maybe up to another between 3 to 6 weeks.
Oh wow! Well, there you go.
And that's when they then,
start to smell. Yeah.
Start to smell.
Wow!
Because apparently as well, I've just been reading in this little book about patchouli by Linez. It's a lot of the islands in Indonesia are being really badly affected by climate change.
Sure.
And it's been affecting the drying, how dry they can get the leaves apparently, and also how much they can grow at any given time, because there's a lot wetter and stuff.
Well, there you go. That could be what might affect the price now. Whether you can get like I say, the sustainability aspect of it, the places where it was traditionally grown, like you say, climate change affecting those. So yeah, I mean, the price of it could have gone up. Like I say, I don't routinely buy perfumery materials, unfortunately, anymore, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, what was I going to say? So yeah, but I think that kind of idea. So there's a brand that they've got a perfume called they're called Parterre, which means like walled garden or something. Does it? It's like one of those parterre gardens.
They're the ones that did River Run.
Yeah, they've done. They always grow one material that they use in the perfume. So their carrot seed oil, they grow vetiver, so they grow it, I'm assuming, in polytunnels or whatever. And so all these things you could, and they're obviously I think they're on the south coast somewhere, the British brand. And I love that idea. You know, that is the ultimate sustainability, and that's something that like people should be like prepared to pay for. I know, you know, yeah, we should be supporting places that have traditionally grown these things or whatever, but I really like that idea of, can we dial in, you know, the growing techniques? Can we get like the ultimate sort of patchouli oil that we don't, that we could be sort of self-sufficient as a brand to produce? I really like the idea of that, which is why, you know, the problem is the amount of yield that you can get from a plant. Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't practically grow probably enough stuff to sustain a brand, but it's a nice romantic idea to have. Do you know what I mean?
So it says here that, well, this is in kilos, but 150 kilograms of dried leaves produces about 3 kilograms of essential oil under this improved distillation technique that IFF have been helping the farmers with. But
Right.
there is a very expensive distillation technique which yields about 95%. So 100 kilograms of essential oil. Oh, but this is about molecular distillation. No, ignore me. So this is about the re-cleaning. Oh, it's complicated, isn't it? You'd know that all of these different techniques would change the smell of something so much. That's what's been really interesting to me.
So
I think is that it's not just the smell that I thought it was. There's a lot of other things in there.
yeah. So I mean, I'm in I'm in a similar sort of thing. This idea of the smell that I thought it was, and I think I mean, there's clearly a lot of diversity here. With the benefit of kind of having gone through them all, the only ones that smell like I thought patchouli smelt are the crude, the cur, and the EO, the essential oil one. The Indene, the Clearwood, and the Terrasol don't really smell like what I would have thought patchouli smells like. They smell like, I probably understand how these are used in other perfumes, and I can sort of believe it. The one that baffles me most is the use of Clearwood in Percival by Parfums de Marly. And Percival is like this kind of straight up aromatic, kind of almost blue, this sort of Abercrombie and Fitch fierce kind of thing. And the use of Clearwood in there just seems to be, I mean, when I smell the material like this without the noise of the other notes, just it seems so peculiar that this would be in that perfume. But yeah, I can sort of believe it, but I guess this goes more to the art of kind of combining things and creating a scent profile out of the bits. I wouldn't have known it was there.
I bet, to be honest, if you see almost any perfume
formula,
you would probably find almost every like a whole ton of in almost every perfume of things you think, I can't believe that's in there, because you use so many ingredients in perfumery just to bolster certain other things, and so you rarely can actually smell like so, for example, the Clearwood, you wouldn't actually smell the Clearwood. It's there to bolster something else entirely. Like quite often civet is used in stuff, and people go, they just kind of recoil at the idea of this animalic civet, but in fact it's just used like to make a floral smell sort of beefier and stronger and have a more of a kind of depth to its heart, if you like, and you don't notice any animalic or typical civet kind of vibes to it. It's just there to bolster something else. I was going
to say, it's quite interesting to me now, having smelt these. I'm kind of frustrated by the Fragrantica that it's just notes, and I want to know more about what's in all the different perfumes now, because I would love it if it could give me a list of, which perfumes have got patchouli cur in, or which perfumes have got terrasol in. I think that now is interesting to me.
I mean, I just want to sum up very quickly on the patchouli stuff. I am basically happy that I've smelt all of these. I've really enjoyed it. It was great to smell the sort of diversity of the materials. Only about half of them actually smelt like what I'd expect patchouli to smell like. And for me, the absolute hands down winner is the crude. I don't think I'd ever want it in a perfume, but it smells fucking beautiful. It smells like a sort of a Balinese hut on a beach during a thunderstorm. I am down for it. The Indene definitely smells like armpit. It smells more and more like armpit the longer it sits on that strip, I'm afraid. I don't think I would want that anywhere
really
near
does.
anything. Yeah.
It smells like your grand's armpit. You know, there's kind of when they wear
Smells like your grand's armpit. Not
synthetic material. You know, when someone's had an armpit that's already been in like a synthetic material, there's a different smell. Like
yeah, no, but I'm going to humour you and say
if you wear non-natural materials, if you wear like a
oh right,
I'm
yeah,
going to shut up.
Yeah, like the PVC suit.
No, I meant more like your gran in Crimpoline.
Okay, so look, it's been a hoot. Once again, thanks to Harry Sherwood. Harry, you're an absolute legend. Really appreciate that. And I don't know whether Harry ships beyond the UK borders, but Artificent is his site, and you should check that the fuck out.
Or just contact
we'll
him.
Put a link to it in the. We'll put a link.
Of course we will.
And contact him because I think the website is being currently revamped. So if you can contact him directly on Instagram or whatever, and I'm sure he'll sort you out.
Yeah. Sounds good like a motherfucker. Okay, it has been a hoot. We have, as always, been Les Oderants, and we will catch you in 2 weeks' time. We'll be back with another riveting debate about armpits and the different clothing required to imbue the armpits with different scents. Thank you very much, Fliss. We'll catch you next time on Les Oderants. Bye!
Bye.
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 Serious face. Right. Hello, and oh, you haven't got your. You haven't got your screen.
My screen.
Again,
I've got to wipe my screen.
You need it like Nasamato white clean vinyl.